Hold on to your reading glasses.
In today's episode, we're digging into New York's Leah McSweeney's book, Chaos Theory. This book is, I'm so sorry.
No, I don't know what the book's
Okay.
Hi, this is Caitlin.
And this is Sharon.
And welcome to Real Housewives on Real Housewives, where we unravel housewives' story threads and keep the tea flowing.
So chic.
Hold on to your reading glasses.
In today's episode, we're digging into New York's Leah McSweeney's book, Chaos Theory.
In this book, Leah shares the story of her life and struggles before and during her time on Real Housewives. And thinking about Leah and how she was just in Ultimate Girls Trip 3 in Thailand, when you see our social media for our Ultimate Girls Trip 3 episodes coming up, you can thank Sharon's sister-in-law, Amy, for the really cool photos. They took them on their honeymoon, right?
And it's just a trip, I think, but they are from Phuket.
That's so cool. I also wanted to thank, I have two friends that have been listening to it who don't listen to the Real Housewives or watch it at all. So Melissa and Sally, hey, thanks for listening. And then also thanks to all of you who do watch Real Housewives and also listen, because we've seen a little bit of a jump in listenership. I was going to say viewership, but you can't see us. So I don't know the word for that. God. But anyway, we love each and every one of you. So thank you for joining us. Yes. So let's do this book club. What to you was the best part of Leah's book? The hot tea, if you will.
This book, like the title, was kind of it's kind of scattered, and that's how I feel about it.
That's a good way to say it.
So the best parts are going to be kind of random.
Yeah.
I liked her explanation of entering motherhood.
Yeah.
Because it was really real. She said on page 55, the days and nights would swing between these tender moments of awe and devotion, and basically the desire to climb the walls.
Yeah.
And I think
I felt that
summarizes being a mom, especially a new mom, so well.
Absolutely. I think it's like a huge roller coaster because you'll have this moment to be like, you're the sweetest thing in the whole world. And then you'll be like, I can't do this. Or at least we have that. Yeah. And apparently Leah. No, I think that was a really real moment too.
Yeah. And then, my next favorite part was the fact that, you know what I'm going to say. She took Lexapro.
Oh, that's right. I couldn't remember. I was like on the edge of my seat just staring at you. You're looking at me like, you know what I'm talking about. I'm like,
so we need to keep tally.
Yeah.
Of how many housewives take Lexapro. That's a lot. And then lastly, I feel like she explained addiction, the pain of it, in a way I could understand, like the pain of how she felt bad about herself, but everyone's like mad at her because has this addiction.
Yeah.
So that's what I liked.
I think those are both really good points. I liked, just because I was so intrigued by it on the show, I liked how she met Rob, her daughter Kier's father, because he was on the show. I kind of felt like maybe he was the one that got away to her. I couldn't quite understand their relationship and what had transpired. And so it was just interesting to see how she met him and that their relationship kind of fell apart. And I thought it was interesting when she said that when she got sober, they gave it another chance, but there was a lack of chemistry. Because when I saw them on the show, I felt like there was chemistry between them. So I was sort of surprised by that. I mean, I believe her, but I thought that was interesting. But you can genuinely see how they'll always be best friends and they support each other. And that friendship was really beautiful. So I liked it on the show, and I liked hearing how they got there and how they parent with Kier. And I don't know, I still have this I guess kind of like a rom-com thing. I feel like they're the ones that got away from each other and they need to find themselves back to each other. But I'm probably totally wrong and just turning that into a movie in my head. But that was kind of my favorite part, just because on the show I wanted more of that and I got more of that.
Yeah.
So, what was the worst part? What didn't you like about this book? The iced tea.
How about you go?
For me, it was what you said a little bit at the beginning. It was the order. I did not like the way the book was ordered. I feel like when you're telling a story of your life, and this is a memoir, I felt like there's a certain order that you go in. And especially, maybe she thought because we had seen her on the show, so it was so intermixed. But she refers to her business as being there before Kier was born, but then she talks about Kier first. And so after her growing up, then it kind of goes out of order. She puts Kier first, then the Married to the Mob clothing line. And then later explains how some of the investment money came from that police brutality moment that she sued the department, got the money for. It was all out of order. And I felt like it wasn't thematic enough to carry through.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like the themes matched enough that I was like, okay. Instead, I just felt like I'd be reading a story and I'm like, I'm missing something. Then later I'd get that and I'd be like, oh, I don't know. I wanted it in order. Yeah. So that drove me nuts.
That actually bothered me too, because especially because her life changed so much constantly.
Yes.
It made it even harder to follow, because at one point she's an addict. She's not an addict. She's on her grandma's couch. She's on someone else's couch, and she would reference stuff. And I didn't even know where to look back to find out which time period in her life
I couldn't keep track. Yeah. What about you? What was your least?
I felt like the wisdom kind of at the end was a little too hashed out. The kind of, where she talks about being herself and unapologetic.
Do you feel like it was too preachy or just too like generic advice?
I didn't think it was generic, because I think it's very her. I just felt like there was too much of it. Like I was like, okay, I'll be myself.
Yeah. Like you've said it already.
Stop making me read it. But I did. I actually really like this book, but
I did too.
The ending was too long for me.
Yeah. I could totally see that. How long did it take you to finish the book? Did you have to force yourself to read it or couldn't put it down?
I actually really enjoyed it. I read it like 1 to 2 hours at a time over a few days. I mostly wanted to finish it.
Yeah. I read it near Christmas last year, and I read it like in one day and then like kind of across the day. And then one day I pushed and just finished it really fast. So about the same. Were there any parts of the book you thought were incredibly unique, out of place, thought-provoking, or disturbing? I was surprised that she dedicated it to her mom, Bunny. Not to Kier, not to... Because on the show, she and Bunny have such a, like, at odds relationship. And I kind of felt like there was a lot of resentment there. So it made me feel like she must have been in a much better place with her mom when she wrote the book. And kind of like as she reflected, must have realized what her mom had gone through with her all those years. But I was really surprised by the dedication. For the uncomfortable part...
You don't think it's a passive-aggressive, like... Here, I succeeded in spite of you. I don't think so, but
I don't know. I didn't think about it that way.
Just a possibility.
Now I'm thinking about it. I don't know. Again, I think their relationship is super complicated, so I could kind of see that. For disturbing, I put how extreme her parents had to go to get her sober. Like it reminded me a lot of, I watched like this thing on Paris Hilton. And it kind of reminded me of how extreme they had to go to get her out of like her partying and all of that. And it was kind of the same with Leah. Like I felt like it kind of paralleled that. But like the fact that they just kind of like, oh, we're just going to go visit this place. You have to stay here. Like they really did extreme things. Sending her to live with the nuns. There was a lot of extreme that they had to do. I don't begrudge them either way, but it was just, I found that really thought provoking. She said, addicts don't have a red light in their brain, only a green light. And I see that in Leah with the way she acts on the show, too. Yeah. Like, once she's kind of started, she just keeps going. And I thought that was a really interesting way to describe addiction. Like, I hadn't quite heard it in that manner. What about you for thought-provoking? Yeah.
So, I had several. So, she talks about how she was expelled from school. She was... middle 8th grade, 9th grade, something like that.
It was younger than I thought.
And that was this huge change in her life, because then her family moved to Connecticut, so she moved out of the city, and she kind of feels like this, I think, set off a cascade of events almost.
Yes, I think that's a good point.
I'm curious what she thinks like her life would have been if she hadn't moved to Connecticut.
Oh, interesting.
Because she still would have been around drugs, alcohol, so...
Like the temptations would have been a lot worse.
So I'm really... curious about that. Maybe she would have been happier though. The other thing was, this is so random, I'm sorry. She talks a lot when she talks about places, cross streets. And I'm wondering if this is a New York thing, because she's like, and then we went to this bar on 61st and 45th. And I'm like, and if I was writing a book on my life, I'd be like, I would be like, I went to this bar on Main Street, and I don't know.
It's like maybe she was hoping there'd be like a New York City tour bus ride of like her life. And she's like, if they do that, I want to make it real simple for them. Here's the map.
So for some reason, that really stood out to me and annoyed me, because every time she put streets, I was like, I don't know where that is.
Well, we're bad at directions anyway. So it's like, don't make this, it's already chaotic. Don't give us like directions on top of it. I don't need to know where to turn.
Okay, so the other part of our book I found really interesting was the whole butterfly theory, which I had heard before, but one small change can cause a cascade of changes that can change your whole life. Mm-hmm. So one whole thing can just change everything in your life. But then she also says later that she believes everything happens for a purpose.
Oh, that's interesting. So maybe she's saying the butterfly flapping its wings has a purpose?
Yeah, so is that I guess I got a little too existential here, and it kind of, I couldn't put it together.
Loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how those two went together.
I'm more of the sliding doors theory. You know, like that movie Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Watch it. It's good.
Okay.
Okay, what was the best new thing that you learned? For me, it was that Rihanna wore her hat. Like that was a big moment. Like Rihanna had the Married to the Mob hat. Yeah. I don't know, for some reason I got like a little starstruck by that. I was like, oh, okay. Like that's a cool way for your company to like make it big, you know? Yeah. Like just to immediately go to, celebrities were wearing her stuff. And like how she built Married to the Mob was really interesting. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed that. And just all the Housewives details. Like she kind of gives her takes on some of her craziest scenes from the seasons. And I enjoyed that too.
The thing I learned, that story of the police assault, I mean, we had heard it, but for some reason I thought it was more minor and she had received $4,000. I think that figure came from somewhere else, but it was a much bigger thing and she received more money. She used it to start her business. So.
Yeah, because they were kind of mumbling about it in that one scene when she initially entered. It was like it was secret information. She didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want to talk about it. So when we learned about it, I was like, well, finally, we're getting the answers on this.
The other thing was I didn't know she had an addiction from such a young age.
I didn't either. I thought we were talking about like late high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it was as extensive as it was.
No, I agree with that. Do you have any lingering questions after finishing the book?
Yeah. I wish she would have touched on her creativity, the artsy side of her a little bit more.
I like that. That's a good answer.
She talks about the magazine and altering clothes, but I wanted to know like who taught her how to sew?
Yes.
I was just kind of...
How does she design?
Yeah.
You're right.
Does she sit down and draw pictures?
That's a really good point.
And then the other thing is, which direction is her Married to the Mob brand going to go now? She's starting this bedding company, which sounds really cool. It's like sustainable materials, linens. Mm-hmm. And what is she going to do with that?
I think she brought robes in that. There was that... extended Roku scene on Ultimate Girls Trip season 3, and she had robes for all the girls from her line. So I wonder if it's kind of turned into like a bedding robes, sleepwear kind of line. I don't know. That's just my guess.
Makes sense.
My question for her, because I'm apparently Rob obsessed, I was like, if Rob wanted to try their relationship again, would she? I don't know, I'm just intrigued by this. Like, I can't let it go.
She makes it seem like she doesn't want to be attached, though. Mm-hmm. Like, she has this friendship attachment. She does. She doesn't want this romantic attachment.
And maybe it's too much to gamble. Like, if they gamble and lose, it's a lot to lose because it's their relationship about their kid. Mm-hmm. How honest do you think the author was?
I think she was extremely honest. Mm-hmm. I don't know how she could have been any more honest.
I completely agree. I said that. I said very honest, told the hard stuff. Like, I bet it was a therapy session in itself for her to write the book. Like, you can kind of see how she'll, like, get onto a thread of something. And that's why I do think the book's a little chaotic. Because I think the way she thought through things, she kind of took a thought of something that had, like, stuck in her brain or was an issue in her life, and she followed it through. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's kind of how the chaos theory went together. Did reading this book change your view of the author or the Housewives franchise?
No, I liked her before. I like her now. And I'm even more impressed by her now, how she turned her life around from addiction. And she kind of makes it seem like, the franchise, what you see is what you get. Mm-hmm.
I appreciated that Bravo had a psychiatrist check in on her. Oh, like she said, they followed up with her and stuff. And that just, like that note of filming that Bravo has these things in place to help people when they are struggling. Because there was that part of that season of New York that Leah was really struggling. And I was glad to know that somebody did check in on her. I do think, though, like, do you think the Real Housewives of New York kind of knocked her off her wagon, though? I mean, it seemed like it did. She wasn't drinking. She kind of said she'd lightly drink.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if Bravo could have helped her more in how they sent her in as a housewife. Because I felt with Ultimate Girls Trip 3, they sent her in as like, I'm sober. I'm sticking to that. And I feel like they didn't do enough. Like, they were just kind of like, just go in there. And I don't know, I kind of feel like you could send somebody in saying, like, this is the person who's not going to drink. And just be okay with that. Because I think it still works. Because it seemed kind of with Luann initially. Mm-hmm. Like, they kind of let her go back and forth. And now they've really supported her and been like, we don't stop drinking. We do the faux. Maybe Bravo's kind of learned from those issues and has set a better setup for the girls.
Yeah. The other quote I liked about the franchise, she says, "Let's be real, maintaining your sobriety while working with Ramona Singer is quite a task, even under normal circumstances."
I would agree.
But, okay, she has this quote where she talks about how a lot of people think reality TV is lowbrow TV, but that all these awesome communities
come I like
around it. And she pulls out, like, there are podcasts, social media communities. Yeah. And, so I love that. She shouted out.
I feel like she was speaking right to that. What did you think was the most important takeaway from her story?
Definitely be yourself, do things your own way, even if you make mistakes, learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. I wrote, like, finding meaning in your chaos. She uses that Rent quote, like, forget regret or life is yours to miss. I kind of felt like that was her thing through the whole thing. Like, pay attention, be a part of your own life. Why do you think the author chose this particular book title? Would you suggest a different one?
What do you think?
I don't know. It worked. I like it because Leah's so chaotic, and what she brought to the show was kind of chaotic. I'm not sure I enjoyed when she tried to tie everything to, like, a scientific theory. Like, she kind of threw out was kind of like the butterfly effect.
I think that's where I started getting confused.
I think so, too.
With the whole
because it was like, now you're throwing in all this scientific stuff that I have to,
there's like physics plus this.
Exactly. And it was like, let me tie this to some abstract theory that now I have to remember. And I don't know. It just felt...
and I'm already confused about
like
the
a little bit of a reach, maybe. Like, I don't think it's so much uniquely her as a title could have been. But, like, she does refer to the fact that she creates outside chaos to fight her inner turmoil. Like, she said that a lot. Like, I'm fighting inner things, so I create outside chaos. So, like, in that respect, I like the word chaos for her book. Yeah. And I can't really think of anything I like better.
I said so. Her life really did seem chaotic.
It did. Yeah. I think chaos is the right word.
But I agree with you about the thread throughout because, I already got hung up on it.
Exactly. Whether tying it to that stuff was necessary, I'm not so sure. All right. Real Housewives. On Real Housewives, thumbs up or thumbs down?
I said thumbs up. She's led an interesting life, and her attitude when you read the book helps you feel confident, like you could do a lot of things. Yeah. The end of it felt a little bit cliche, but overall it was really good.
Yeah. I said thumbs up. And especially if you're going to go on an ultimate girls trip with her, you should both read it and, like, stick to what you read.
Yeah. Pay attention, Heather.
We read the book. Did you think Heather really read it?
She might have skimmed it.
Yeah.
She didn't read it.
I think she didn't take it. She didn't get the knowledge from it.
No, I don't think
she just read. You think she just, like, read the test jacket and then was like, "Yeah, it's chaos and Leah.
A lot of chaos.
Just probably some drinking or something." Yeah. Actually, read it, Heather. Okay. All right. Well, that's our book club for Leah. So remember, housewives bring the drama,
but we bring the receipts.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to help support us, please share it with others and leave a rating and review. Also, visit us on Instagram and Twitter, both at RH_on_RH for fun pictures and polls, or email us at rhonrhpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and remember to stay out of the shade.